Welcome to Alumni Live, the podcast. These are conversations with Grand Valley State University film and video graduates about the industry, the film video major, and alumni profiles.
Welcome back to Alumni Live, the podcast. My name is Marin Roth, and I'm a senior film and video student at Grand Valley State University. Today we're going to be talking about the Michigan Film Credits Incentive Bill, which in layman's terms is just subsidizing films being made in Michigan. Today I'm talking with Representative John Roth, who represents the 104th District of the Michigan House. John has a history in marina management, where he has a history of hosting independent filmmakers. Also, he's my dad. Thanks for joining us, Representative Dad.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation to be on the podcast.
We're happy to have you. So, can you tell me a little bit about this Michigan Film Credits Incentive Bill that's coming through?
Absolutely. So the big emphasis on this one is to change or better what we missed out in 2008. So first credits were in 2008. They happened for about 6 years approximately, and then were phased out. One of the things we missed in that first bill package was production and keeping that production in the state of Michigan. I think we missed the goal a little bit. We wanted people to come in and film in Michigan and see how beautiful the state was. But at the time we thought, well, they would just stay then if they saw how beautiful the state was. Well, I don't think the incentives were set up that way. The incentives should have been produce the movie in Michigan, then get your film credit at that point. We are focusing the new bill on production, using Michigan talent, Michigan products, Michigan facilities where the movies and commercials and documentaries, miniseries, you name it, are actually produced in Michigan. That's the end part of it where it's editing and those kind of things. Once you get that, then you can realize a tax incentive for doing that.
Can you just kind of outline, again in layman's terms, what's in the bill? What is this? Tell us all about it.
So the bill this time around, we want to make sure that we're producing, editing, and giving that Michigan stamp on the film or commercial, whatever else being filmed here in Michigan. Then you realize a credit. So there's no money guaranteed until actually that product is finished in Michigan. And that's the real difference from the old bill.
Can you tell us a little bit about the mechanics of the bill? What does it look like if you're going to be making a film, applying for this credit? If I were a filmmaker and I wanted to make a film, what would that process look like for me? How would I be able to benefit from that?
Well, you come into Michigan, you do your filming, no different than you would today. But at the end of the project, if you produce that movie in Michigan, so you actually do the editing and those kind of finished parts to it, you can realize a tax credit. So up to 30% of a tax credit you're able to get after the fact. So you have to finish the project in Michigan, and then you can realize this tax credit. There is a little caveat to it, and that is we are offering a transferable tax credit. So if you are a very small company that comes in and does, let's say, a documentary, and you spend $1 million doing that documentary, at the end, produce that in Michigan, you do have a 30% credit available to you. But maybe you are so small that you want to get some cash infusion so you can do a studio or some other project. You can actually sell that credit to a Michigan company. So let's say just one of the major auto companies, let's say it's one of them. They come in and say, you know what, I'll buy that tax credit from you. I'm not going to give you the $300,000 that you're due, but I'll give you $250,000. And you as a filmmaker or a documentary maker can take that cash and put it towards another project in Michigan or doing a studio. And then the auto company is going to receive that tax credit at the end of the year. Could be an interesting thing for those small companies really trying to get up and running.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, it would.
So why do you care? You're a representative from mid-Michigan, but from northern Michigan for the past 30 years. You used to work in marina management, used to be a blue-collar worker. Why now? Why does it matter to you? It's
a real good part. So it was brought to my attention whether or not I would even consider being part of this package. And I remembered back to when this independent movie was filmed at the marina that I run still today. They came to me, they dropped off a film card and said, this was, I think, right around 2008 or 2009. I believe it was 2008. I got a card on my desk that said the West Michigan Film Industry. I didn't know what that was. I didn't have a clue what was going on. So for a month, I let it sit on my desk. Finally, I talked to one of my staff. What's this card about? And they said, well, there was a guy that came by, said they might want to film a movie here. Okay. I actually called the office and they said, yeah, that's not a joke. We have a company that would like to film a movie at your marina. And they'll be here in August to take a look and see if that's really what they want to do. And I said, that's great, but when do they want to film? And they actually said November. And I said, November in northern Michigan? Are you crazy? You know what the weather's going to be like? Snow, rain, blowing, miserable.
Yeah, I hope you have a parka.
Hope you have a parka. Hope you got a lot of warm clothes for the actors. But they were serious about doing it. The tenor of the film was kind of a little bit of doom and gloom and a little bit of a depressed nature. We filmed the movie, got it done the first week in December when the snow did hit, with boats still in the water. But we got it done. And then I've talked to them about what's your future plans here. We're going to receive their 40% tax credit in the form of a check from the state of Michigan and taking it to New Mexico to actually produce the film and edit the film out there. At that time, I kind of was thinking this is not a sustainable way to go. This is not doing anything for Michigan. So I was actually against these film credits. I said, this is not good. So when they came to me and said, we want to attack it a different way, and that is actually trying to build a industry in Michigan by incentivizing the production in Michigan, I said, let's take a look at that. There was economic benefit to northern Michigan, right around the Traverse City area with this film being made. $2.5 million were spent around the area for this movie to be there. But we didn't see the end product, and that's what I wanted to see, and that's what these new bills do.
I think about when I graduate, I want to work in camera. I really like cinematography, so I can see myself being able to get a job in Michigan. For my friends who are audio students or post-production students, they're all planning on moving out of the state. New York, Los Angeles, Georgia. I'm not sure that they're particularly keen on moving out of the state. It's just that's where the jobs are. That's where the production studios are.
It's funny that you say that because actually being interviewed by a local TV station about a month ago, at the end of the interview, the reporter said, Rep, can I talk to you about something? Sure, let it rip. She said all the people in the news station were wanting to be in film production and photography, all around film. And they had to settle, though they're happy with their jobs, but had to settle for being in a newsroom instead of in movie studios. So there's a lot of that. And I've also said that you had considered South Carolina because your grandpa and grandma live there.
Yeah.
It makes some sense. You know, that big, deep blue state does this kind of credit. What are we doing? 40 states offer them. Michigan does not. So it's not even an opportunity for many of our kids to even stay. There was a huge article just this weekend about the droves of Gen Z moving out of the state of Michigan. I don't say this is a silver bullet that'll keep all of them home. At least it's an opportunity to keep some of them home. And we are losing that population huge out of the state of Michigan. And some people have said to me, well, whatever, they'll come back when they get older. Well, that's a problem because as we lose these young people out of the state, and this state gets older by age every 10 years, who's going to do those services that the older folks in our state need? It won't be the young people because they're not here. And when they come back as an older person, they're going to need the services. So we're losing all those young people, and this is an opportunity to keep some of them home.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people my age do like to do freelancing. They like to kind of do their own thing. And I think nobody my age is really looking to, well, I won't say nobody, but none of us are looking to be rich. None of us want to be like that really big filmmaker, you know, a Taika Waititi, for example. Right. And having something like a film credit would just make it so that you could pay the bills, so that you could actually do what you love and at least get by and be able to have it be sustainable.
There's two parts to that. One thing we have to be very sure to say production credit, because really that's where we're at. Yes, we'll do films, but we're also going to do commercials. We're going to do documentaries. You know, the big three automakers don't film their commercials in Michigan. They go where it's cheaper. That's why you see a Chevy whatever or a Ford whatever by the mountains.
Yeah, parked on the edge of the cliff. Yeah.
Or even a ocean, for God's sake, right?
Yeah.
When you have beautiful Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, you could photograph these vehicles there. It just doesn't happen because they have to do it where they can be more affordable. Now, I say that there's other things to this too. We just got to think ahead and be real curious about how this is going to work. And I think we're on the right path.
You mentioned South Carolina. You mentioned that it was a blue state. A film credit like this, is it politicized? What's the kind of pushback you've gotten? From who? What's the kind of feedback that you're getting?
Overall, positive. I will say that probably my Republican side of the aisle is going to be the one that pushed back the most, unfortunately. There is some real lazy journalism going out there that want to equate this to 2008's film credits. This is different. And if you have read the bill, you know it's different. It's not even close to the same. But there are some organizations just keep throwing out this 2008, it's going to fail. 2008, it's going to fail. If it was 2008, it will fail. We saw that. This isn't what it is. This is a new version of these bills that actually go for the in-state credit and in-state services. We need to look at it totally different. I've already gotten some criticism for doing this. I don't care, because it's important to me that we look at all options to keep youth here and economic development. And this one is, if nobody comes in and does a film here, there's no money's put out. If it doesn't work for them, they don't come in, there's nothing lost. If somebody does come in, wants to produce a small movie or a commercial, a documentary, whatever, then they can realize the credit. This is not a situation where we have a bundle of money that we want to throw at people as soon as they come in the state. That's not the case. They have to earn this credit. And that's the key to this whole program, is that they have to earn this by doing things in Michigan.
They got to commit.
They have to commit. There's been some conversation that says this is only going to bring in Hollywood elites. Hollywood elites are going to fly into Michigan and take over. No, it's not. 41 states, if we do this, they get to choose from all 40 states. That isn't what we're aiming for. Sure, there might be a big budget movie that gets filmed in Michigan. And yes, an actor's going to make a lot of money for that. But what about everybody underneath that? The production staff, camera people, you name it. Those people don't make huge money, but they can make a nice career in Michigan. It just related me back to about that same time in 2008, maybe a little bit before that. We had a national conversation whether or not you should belong to a country club, or should you buy a yacht, and should you buy an expensive car. No one talked about who makes those things work. Who are the greenskeepers? Who are the staff in the conference services in the golf course? The pro shop, people that work there. It'd be the same in a boat maker in Cadillac. We have a great boat maker there. When those things happened, and Cadillac was shut down. People were no longer making boats. No one's doing the fiberglass work, the upholstery. When we get into those kind of conversations, they don't make sense, because everybody forgets about the people actually doing the work. And the same here, when somebody says Hollywood elites, it drives me nuts, because that is a very small portion of anything that happens when you look at all the people surrounding the actual industry.
0.001% Josh Lucas, 99% Marin from Traverse City.
That is correct. Or any other. And that was another one that we talked about at an economic conference about 3 weeks ago on a Friday. And a young man stood up and said, "What are you doing for young people?" And there wasn't a lot of good conversation. There weren't a lot of good things that people said. So I mentioned that I was working on film production. And actually afterwards, there were multiple parents that came up and said, "My daughter is going to be at Michigan State next year with film production. My daughter is a sophomore at Grand Valley right now. My son is going to Lawrence Tech." And then I had many others that, I have a daughter that's in LA right now working. God, to have a chance at having her come home and work in the state. There are so many people that are not talked about that are out of the state now that would come back and work if they had an opportunity.
Shifting gears a little bit, why do you think it's important for film students like me and my classmates to pay attention to this bill and other government policies?
Well, it affects you more than it's going to affect me. I can do it right now. Look, I'm making the laws right now, but how are they going to help me? And how long are they going to affect you? I think our youth need to start paying attention to politics a lot more. You guys need to know what's going on and pay attention. Now, I know you're busy in college and all that kind of stuff, but once you get into a career or starting your life into a business of any kind, you need to start paying attention to what we're doing in Lansing. But you need to know, we need your support. There are going to be people that are going to push back on these bills because they just refuse to listen or read the bill, and they generalize it to something it's not. The more people we have that will say this will help me or my child or my friend compared to those pushing back against it, I think it's very important to have that.
So then follow up, what can young people do, like myself?
Well, talk to your friends, send letters to the legislature. I'd say not just you, but your parents, everybody needs to start sending notes and letters to their representatives. I had a call just yesterday that was chastising me for doing this, that had a conflict of interest because my daughter's in this industry.
Well, yeah, that's the point.
Hard to get around that. But it's not just my daughter. It's so many other daughters and sons out there in this industry too. It's not a small industry, and we need to make sure people know it's not just one or two people. This is going to affect thousands.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to know. So we need your advocacy. Every rep in the state needs to hear from their constituents saying it's not just one or two people. It's in every single county in the state of Michigan.
We're taking a short break to tell you about the Dirk Koning Memorial Film and Video Scholarship. Here's Gretchen Vintage remembering Dirk Koning.
The Koning Scholarship enables students to get that kind of an education, to be a good filmmaker, to be able to express their voice, and to continue Dirk's dream.
For more information and to donate to the scholarship, visit the link in the description. Now back to the show.
As a college student who's already kind of mystified by that sort of thing, can you break down for me what the process of writing to your legislator should be? Like, is it email? Is it over letter? What's the kind of like stuff that we should be saying? Should we keep it short? Should we just show up at the office and request a meeting?
Nothing wrong with showing up at the office anytime. It may be harder depending on how active the legislator is. I know the senators, the number of committees the senators have is crazy. I mean, they have some of them 8 and 7 committees. I have 4 committees, so it's not quite as complex. But I would say letters, but not form letters. I get form letters all the time that say, vote for this, don't vote for that. And I'm a constituent. Oh, okay. So I want to hear that it's from Traverse City, Groton, Kingsley, Interlochen,
Meesick.
All my...
You're all called to action.
That's right. I want to know where you're from and are you in my district? And give just why it affects you. Why does it make a difference? I want to hear a specific thing from you that's different than everybody else.
Yeah. So you don't want to hear, oh, here's a statistic on Michigan. No, you
no.
want to hear, I'm a person who lives in Michigan, specifically a young person who's kind of scared about the future because I won't lie, we all are.
Absolutely.
And hearing that, like, it does humanize the issue, doesn't it? It's easy to say George Lucas, both people that have probably been to Michigan are going to come over and do the film. It's so easy to say that.
Yeah.
But if you can pull up a letter and say, I'm Marin, I'm from Interlochen, Michigan, I love cameras and I love Michigan, but boy, am I afraid to find a job after this.
Right. Absolutely. Just personalize it. It doesn't have to be a long letter. I'd rather see a 1-page, 2-paragraph thing that says why you're concerned or why you're active in this, what you're potentially doing, and that you're from my district. I want to hear from those people. And we need to be a very good voice on this. Like I said, there are people who be lazy and say this is just like the last one. That's what I hear from, unfortunately, a handful of people. So far, it's been more positive than negative. But there are groups that could get active on the negative side that push it out there too. So far, I don't see that. I see a lot more positive. It seems to affect everybody, including the UP of Michigan. Some great areas up there that could really benefit from this too.
I just had a thought about the idea that it'll be a bunch of Hollywood people coming in here that'll only benefit the elite. I think about how many years ago was it that Batman versus Superman was filmed in Lansing?
Right.
People were coming in droves to Lansing.
Well, it was Detroit, more in the industrial area of Detroit, actually.
Right.
Again, they came in and out and fast, and that's the difference between what we're trying to do today, where you would stay here and be a long-term production facilities that stay here active through many years to come. If Georgia can do it, Michigan can do it. Georgia is another one of those blue states. Georgia's a red state. South Carolina's a red state. North Carolina, Indiana, Ohio.
Is that like pushback that you're getting from that side of the aisle?
In this committee, there were actually some pushback by a couple Democrats in there. They didn't like the transferable tax credit or wanted to know more about that. And another person was really concerned that these aren't all union jobs. Which kind of bothered me. It's going to be both union and non-union.
Everybody's
a little bit different. And like you said, a lot of people like to move around. They want to be free to do whatever they want to do. They don't want to be locked into a situation where they have to do certain things. It's going to invite all types of jobs to this.
Like you said, there's documentary, there's commercial, independent film.
The streaming services that are out there could be doing movies or those or whatever up here. Now, there is a limit.
I was going to say, what exactly does it support? If you're doing a podcast, could you?
No, more than likely that's not going to be big enough. It's going to have to be something a little bigger than that. And it's defined in the bill because it does say the limits and how big they need to be to even qualify. It's not all big stuff, though. I would guarantee that somebody that's doing an indie movie, or if Tim Allen decides he wants to do a mini series or weekly show in Michigan, he could
Oh.
certainly do that.
I would pay to see that.
Yeah.
I actually would. I want Tim Allen to do a weekly Michigan season.
Certainly anybody that's in that industry could stay home and do it.
So then I have a fun little quirky question for you.
Okay.
Here's a little interlude. Lots of things are made in Georgia, and then you have that end card, the Georgia peach.
Correct.
If you could choose an end card for Michigan,
Ooh.
what are you thinking?
Ooh.
Are we going to do the bridge?
Probably.
You think so?
The Mackinac Bridge makes the most sense. It's
Yes.
the common symbol that we have in Michigan.
Yeah.
Could be different things.
Yeah.
And
Barn.
a car. It could be
Yeah.
could be a boat, snowmobile for that matter in Michigan.
That's funny.
And that way we know we're connecting both Upper Peninsula and Lower Peninsula to this.
Yeah. If the bill gets passed, when the bill gets passed, if we're being optimistic, how long before it goes into effect? What's that going to look like?
Depends on how it's passed. So there is, just to take you through the whole process. So starts out in a committee, did in the Economic Development Small Business Committee. We probably will pass it out or take a vote on it here in the next couple weeks. The Senate is also doing the same thing. So the Senate has two bills similar that they're going to run through their committee there. So once we get it past committee, then usually it takes 1 or 2 weeks to get to the House floor. I suspect potentially April, where a vote would take place on the House floor. And then the Senate would do something very similar. Now, these bills being from the House and Senate being, I wouldn't say slightly different, but just maybe a little bit of the way they're written, will go to a conference committee where they will decide who will get the actual PA and are the Senate bills better than the House bills or vice versa. And then once they get that done, when they both pass the House and Senate, if it goes through the Senate, it first has to come back to the House for a concurrence vote, and then it goes to the governor. So once the governor gets it in her hands, if it's passed immediately with immediate effect from the Senate, then it usually takes place about 90 days after it's signed into law. If no action's taken that didn't get immediate effect, it would take almost a year before it goes actually into effect. So we're hoping very much that the Senate would pass it with immediate effect. That way we're potentially within 90 days to actually get in the hands of any producer of any kind. Probably would take a year or two. But the money will be there in the tax credit part of it within that year, as soon as somebody earns the credit. But I'd say it's going to take, on average, takes about a year to get it to where we're at that point.
So write those letters, kids. The sooner we can pass it, the better.
That's right. And get the Senate to give it immediate effect. That's the big one.
Can you name some of the people that are involved in this bill? Who have been some big contributors?
Absolutely. Really, it's been wide-ranging. Interlochen Arts Academy has showed a lot of support. Many high schools have ISDs. The ISDs do a ton of film production. The local career tech centers, very support. EW, the union for the electricians, very support. You're getting it from economic centers like chambers of commerce are very up in tourism. I didn't know that we would get the CVBs, which is the tourism bureaus. They are very active in this. The DDAs potentially could see some of the action in their cities. Counties even have expressed interest in this. It's wide-ranging in the sport. I think that's fantastic, and that lends us to a better chance of getting this through because of the very diverse and wide-ranging support that we've gotten from all over the state. The UP has got some producers of movies that are small by nature, but would like to see more economic development up there in doing movies and films and commercials. The UP has been very active in that. So far, it's been amazing to see the number of supporters from different backgrounds that are actually supportive of it.
All right, so sort of wrapping up here, do you have any last thoughts on the bill?
We need to have people consistently advocating for it. Because the House of Representatives right now are a 50-50 tie, not a ton of legislation is going to go through until April. So every couple weeks, I'd love to have people write to your legislators again, get new involvement from different groups that might be interested in this. If it's another arts academy from Southwest Michigan, get them involved writing letters. We got to keep it in the forefront and make sure people are aware of this. Now, I don't like to see a letter every single day, but getting people involved and understand that this is going to be voted on, it's going to happen, and just getting more and more people engaged of what's going on. So any groups that you think might be impacted by these bills, get them involved, because you never know. And if you just start talking to people about what could happen, they get involved, and we've had a great engagement with a lot of people that we never thought we would see. Be encouraged. understand this is an opportunity to keep a lot of this activity in the state of Michigan, and we need to do that. And we've got a real opportunity here. Just be positive. This is a new day, and we got a chance. We have a real good chance of getting this through. And I think it could be just really, really a great thing for the youth in our communities that really have an opportunity to keep some of our families home here.
I think on my end, too, this is an encouragement for us to kind of band together as film students, especially because COVID lockdown is over. We can come together again. We can meet up outside of school. We can get groups of people together to advocate for this sort of a thing.
Advocating for all our kids in the state of Michigan.
Thank you so much for talking with me today in fighting for this bill, especially on behalf of myself and all of my fellow film friends. Thank you so much. This will be super helpful for filmmakers my age and for other filmmakers in Michigan. And for listeners, there will be links in the description if you want to follow up on more information and stay connected with this bill as it goes on in the next couple of months, as it kind of grows and changes. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Alumni Live, the podcast. Subscribe to our podcast to hear more from our alumni across the industry. Check out Alumni Live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more conversations and networking. Let us know what topics you want to hear our alumni talk about. The Grand Valley State University Film Video Alumni Network is here for you, and we're glad that you're here. Thank you for listening.